Good morning, gentlemen. Welcome to the Complete with Purdeep Show. My name is Purdeep Sangha, and I will be your host for the next 30 to 45 minutes, so stay tuned. Hang in. We got an awesome episode for you today. We got a wicked guest. I'm super excited to have him on today because I'm going to learn a ton from him. Before we get started, I just want to wish everybody out there a Merry Christmas. I hope you guys have an amazing day or next couple of days with your friends, your family. I know it's been a little bit challenging with the COVID situation and people not being able to meet each other. Our family is impacted by that as well. Personally, my brother and his wife and newborn son were supposed to come visit us, but they postponed that trip. We were going to have a big family Christmas bash here. So for those of you who aren't able to meet your loved ones, I hope you're able to chat with them over the phone or see them over Zoom or Skype or whatever you're using. Again, this show is for you gentlemen out there, you business-oriented gentlemen, whether you're an executive, you're an entrepreneur, you are a CEO, business owner, you name it. This show is for you because it's all about having complete victory, which means having everything you want in life. And now is a perfect time to actually talk about that. What does that really mean? And that means that, let's just say these holiday season right now, that we're coming up with Christmas. You have to ask yourself, do you have the ability to actually take the time off and actually spend it with your family? Or are you forced to work? Are you forced to hustle and grind through the holidays? That's not something you want. We want you to have the freedom to be able to choose to work through the holidays if you want to, not necessarily have to. So complete victory includes having the wealth, the time, the freedom, the relationships with your significant other, with your kids, being there to have the life that you fully deserve. So I ask that you like this show, share it with your fellow gentlemen, your friends, your family members, because the more people we can impact, the better. So again, coming back to Christmas today, again, I just want to wish you happy holidays, Christmas if you celebrate it. And Elio's going to do an awesome jam. If you haven't heard Elio before, he's the backstage producer, but he's also a wicked guy in general. And he's got an awesome talent. He is like musically inclined. He's a music genius. So there he is.
Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, Prospero año y felicidad, yeah. I wanna wish you a Merry Christmas, everybody. Come on now.
Hey, Elio, thanks, man. See, leave it to Elio to bring the mood up. Thanks. So, Elio, what do you got planned? You got some family over, you were saying?
Oh my God, I have like over 300 people in my house right now from Miami, eating lechon, pork, destroying my diet, but it's absolutely fun, I'm telling you.
Yeah, talking about diet, you're going to want to take some tips from our guest, right?
Yeah, well, actually, I can wait because we have the best guest to talk about diet, getting fit, and just staying focused in time of Christmas and all of that, because it gets crazy a little bit.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. Well, thanks, Elio, man. We might bring you back on to do another jam here in a little bit.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
So, today's theme, every episode that we do, Thursday, 8 o'clock Eastern Time, AM, obviously. You definitely want to join us, but every episode has a specific theme. And the theme is really one of the C's of the complete man. And that's what we're all about, being the complete man. And today's show is all about consistency. So today's guest is going to be very relevant for the conversation that we're going to have about consistency, because he's going to break some serious norms or some myths that people have in terms of diet and exercise and health and wellness. But when it comes to consistency, there's two things that I really want you to understand. The first one is you have to be consistent. It's a non-negotiable. If you're not consistent in terms of the effort that you're putting in, the time that you're putting in, the actual performance that you're putting in, you are not going to get the results that you're looking for. So with that, I talk to guys and they say, yeah, I'm consistent, I do this. And if you don't know my background, I am a business strategist and coach, so a business performance and personal performance coach for entrepreneurs, executives, CEOs, some of the top high performers around the world. And we work with some very, you could say, big players. And even these gentlemen, when I talk to them and I say, are you being consistent in this area? They will say yes. And here's what I'll ask them to do. Track it. Okay, just for 1 week, just track it. Track what you do throughout the day when it comes to this particular item. Let's just talk about it after. And I don't even have to bring it up again after, but they bring it up and they say, you know what? As I was tracking, I realized that I'm not as consistent as I thought I was. So tracking it is important because being consistent, knowing that you are consistent, is a very important thing for yourself. The second thing, and I just want to make sure that our connection is good because obviously technology with everything that's happening. Am I good? Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Elio, I'm going to ask.
Good.
Okay, awesome. The second element when it comes to consistency is making sure you're doing the right things. So you can be consistent and you could be giving it your all. And this is something else I see guys challenged with is they're going at it 110% and they're giving it their all. They're giving it all their time, their effort, they're sacrificing time with their family or other aspects of their life, but they don't have the right strategies. They don't have the right tactics. And so if you're being consistent with the wrong strategies, you're not going to get the results that you're looking for either. So those are two things I really want you to pay attention to is A, are you really being consistent? And B, are you being consistent with the right things? And that's why I'm so excited to bring on today's guest because he's going to talk about this in the context of health and wellness for guys. I'm excited. This guy's a buff dude. I was looking at it, he's got some cool apparel too, but if you guys know me, I'm into fitness. I've been into fitness for a very long time, but I love guys like John, who's going to be joining us very soon here, because he's like the top of the top when it comes to fitness and what he does. So John, thank you for joining us on the show today.
So much for having me on. I'm very excited to get into this conversation with you.
So, I didn't do a full introduction. I'd love for you to talk about who you are, what you do. You're obviously in the health and wellness space, but just give the audience a little bit of 101. Who is John Thomas?
Okay. To start, I'm a bodybuilder, but what's going to throw a lot of people for a loop is that I've been vegan for 15 years. I've been vegan longer than I've been lifting. I recently graduated about a year and a half ago from business school, got a job in finance, moved back home to be with my fiance and stepkids, got laid off from the new job and decided, right as quarantine shut everything down, that why not start a business now? So that's kind of where I'm at.
So let's break that down because there's a lot in that, right? You just summed it up in 1 minute or less than a minute. But A, you finished business school, so congratulations. That's a big accomplishment. That's a big achievement. And you got this job, and then what happened? COVID hit?
I got the job, but part of the job was relocating. And I maintained my long distance relationship with my now fiance and stepkids. And I was flying back every 2 weeks just to make sure that relationship kept up, that balance, that work-life balance. And it ended up being more of a work balance. So I decided to relocate back here. And within 2 weeks was when COVID exploded in March in Florida. And I was laid off from the finance job that I was working. So
crazy.
Yeah.
That's tough, and this isn't the first time I've heard that. I've actually had a couple of good friends that went through this situation as well. They were so excited because they finished a program or whatever that was, certification, and then all of a sudden this hit. And it's like the last however many years of effort has just gone down for them from a perception perspective, because it hasn't, but just from perspective, I'm assuming that you thought, okay, what happened? What went through your mind at that time?
It was okay, I'm always a person that's as soon as one door closes, I'm either going to open a window or break open a window. I'm going to find a way to keep moving forward. And I had a part-time job lined up within 24 hours of getting laid off. My fiance, wonderful. She connected me with another small business owner from my gym, who is now also the co-founder of Weight Train, our company. So I just used it. Honestly, I'm glad that it happened. I left a job that paid the bills that I was okay with, and now I have something that I love. So sometimes a negative can be turned into a positive depending upon your perception and how you keep moving forward.
Yeah, I love that part, less than 24 hours, because it really comes down to, I think a lot of people got shocked by losing their jobs, and I can't blame them. A lot of people got shocked by their businesses having to shut down. But it's how fast you recover, right? But I like to use the analogy of, okay, everybody's going to get knocked off the bull. It's how fast you get back onto the bull that really counts. And so I'm super amazed that you, within 24 hours, you were able to get a new job. you went down that path. We're going to get into the business part here as well. But
Mhm.
again, this show is about being real and honest. You and I have had some really good conversations before we actually got up on the show here. And I was like, oh, we already started the show. That's too bad we weren't already recording. But your fiance, we talked about, so you're going to be a stepfather, or you probably already considered a stepfather. Your fiance has 2 kids already. Tell me about that, because this, again, we're about being guys who are strong leaders. It takes a lot for a guy to take on 2 young kids, especially, I don't know if you're comfortable sharing, but
Oh,
prior
yeah.
to that.
Yeah. So I'm 28 now. At 27, I got a vasectomy, and 5 months later, I met my fiance. I knew I didn't want to have biological kids. I knew that, like, if I was going to have kids in my life, it would be through adoption, try and help out a kid that needed a home. And when I met my fiance, I really didn't think it was going anywhere. I knew I was leaving for that job, that finance job in Texas, in a few months. And I knew she had 2 small kids. They were, I think, 3 and 4 when I met her, or 2 and 4, and now they're 4 and 5. And so I wrote it off. I was like, this relationship's not going to go anywhere. And then, like, 2 days later, I pretty much moved in. I was like, well, I guess we're doing this. So about 2 weeks in, I told her, I looked at her, I said, we need to decide right now, either this is happening or it's not, because I'm in your kid's life, I'm in your life. I know I want to be with you. You need to decide in the next day or two, either we're going to make this work or I'm going to get out now, because we're already starting to get in deep and we're involving other people in our lives. It was not at all what I had expected. I did not expect to be in any form of stepdad role. We only have the kids half-time. I think if we had them 24/7, it would be, it's a lot. Kids are a lot. I knew they were a lot because I had worked in my first job was, I was 14. I started babysitting for our church, like in the nursery. So, like, I had watched, like, 6-month-old kids to 6-year-old kids for 5 years. So I knew that kids were a lot of work. But they're very rewarding too. Like, you say, I'm going to be a stepdad, and it's almost like when you get a promotion or you get a new job or you get, like, a title, you don't know if you really, like, imposter syndrome. You don't know if that's really you. And I still question. I'm like, am I really a stepdad now? But they call me John Daddy. Like, as soon as I get home, they run up and give me a hug. Like, I'm so lucky to have them
Oh,
in my life. They honestly made me where I am today, because I had no ambitions of opening my own business. I just wanted to do 9 to 5 until I turned about 40. I saved very heavily, so I knew I would be able, off my investments, like by 35, 40, to be able to retire from a regular job. But now, like, they drive me to push myself in every aspect. Like, I need more income to help support a family if anything happens. So they push me to be better. And I try my best, but, like, kids, you have kids, so they're a lot of work, and they push you to really take a step back and, like, am I doing the right thing, and force you to constantly reevaluate yourself. So it can be, I know a lot of people think, like, oh, I don't want kids because they're going to hold me back from being my best. But honestly, I think it's a personal choice. If you want kids, you can still accomplish, as you've shown, your business goals as well. So
man, that's an amazing story when you think about it. I'm just trying to break it down in my own head. When you're talking, you got snipped,
yeah,
and all of a sudden you end up with 2 kids within, you're saying, almost like an over weekend. But I have to commend you, because to stand up to actually say, okay, are we going to make this work or not? Because there's other people involved. That is such a, it's a selfless decision to make. But it's also a very, it's a strong position to be in, right? And most people can't make their relationships work. They've been married for 10, 15 years and they still can't make it work. And you're in it for a couple of days saying, okay, we got to make this work. And I just think that is so commendable, because right now what we're seeing is a big challenge with family units. We're seeing over 50% of children in the US being raised without full-time fathers. And so that's having a massive impact on society. It's having a massive impact on how family units are operating, how children are growing up. We talk about violence, crime, all that stuff. I'm a firm believer that a lot of that comes from the family unit breaking down. So I have to thank you and commend you for being one of those guys that are actually being, stand up. But this is interesting when you talk about, like, the whole sheer of events. You talk about your destiny. You think it's going to go one way, and then all of a sudden it goes a different way. It's not only from a family perspective for you, but also for your work perspective. Now, I want to hear about Weight Train. That's a cool shirt. That's cool apparel that you got. How did you went from a job to starting a business? How did that all happen?
I gotta say, I'm very lucky to have my mentor, my new best friend, and my business partner, Jason. None of this would have been possible, at least in this time frame, without him. He's already run his own small business, tech-based, for 20 years. And when I got laid off, he offered me a part-time job to help him run that business. He had seen some of the things I had worked on in the past and thought I could help with their marketing and just kind of day-to-day operations. My title now is operations manager. And now I'm their full-time salaried position with him. I'm very grateful for that. But what we noticed is, like, when we weren't talking work stuff, we were always talking about the gym. And then COVID really hit and all the gyms closed in Florida for a couple months. And our goal was to find a way to get at first products for ourselves, because we looked online and like a pair of dumbbells was like $100, $200. The Bowflex dumbbells were like going for $1,000 used. So we're like, how can we make this affordable for ourselves, but also for other people? Like we thought, like a second later, like there's gonna be other people that need workout equipment. So we started our first product that we ordered and produced was our Power Fusion resistance bands. They're kind of like you would think like pull-up bands, but more than just doing pull-ups. We showed how you could attach them to barbells at home to make your barbell heavier, or use them even just by themselves to get a workout at home, at a hotel, if you're traveling, wherever. I made a quick video, like, even though it's the holidays, you don't have an excuse. Like, if you got the bands, you can still get a workout in somewhere. So that was like kind of our springboard, was those bands. And then the gym started to open back up, and we wanted to bring products that basically support the lifter. Like, we have knee sleeves and elbow sleeves that help protect your joints. We have wrist wraps to keep your wrists secure and in place. Our goal is pretty much to make your lifting experience better in any capacity, either make it more comfortable or make it where you can lift more weight, but also keep it affordable. We really were like blown away with these prices on fitness equipment, and we just wanted to make it available to everyone that wants it. And we also try our best to provide information. So like our Instagram and YouTube, we're always showing product descriptions, but also more than that, like how to actually work out, and even workouts that don't involve our products. Like, we want to just bring fitness out to anyone that wants it. I also do coaching. I feel that kind of, as you mentioned before, like in any aspect in life, you can learn from someone else, and you can get there faster if you have a good coach. I know that I wouldn't have known how to set up product listings on Amazon, how to ship products, how to take product photos, how to use Photoshop, how to edit videos, if I didn't have my mentor, Jason. Same way I have a coach myself for my bodybuilding goals and my nutrition goals. And as you were speaking on relationships, my fiance and I, we've had our up and downs. We've thought things were over in this almost year and a half that we've been together. And for a year now, we've had a relationship coach, like a therapist that we meet with every week or every other week. And, it's just like anything else in life. You can keep working at it and keep getting better, finding a way, as we said, to make it work. So getting long-winded, I think, but
No, that's awesome, man. I think there's so many parts there, because we're going to get into the fitness aspect here real soon. I just want to talk about my personal experience, because I think what you are providing is perfect for a lot of guys out there. Because when COVID hit, I traditionally went to a gym myself. I always thought about building my home gym, but I just liked getting away from the home and not having excuses to not work out. So I would just go to the gym, and I've been doing that for years. And then when COVID hit, I was like, okay, I can't go to the gym anymore. And then, we couldn't get weights. I was amazed. It was just like that. And the weights that were left, people just wanted ridiculous amounts. It was, I can't, they were like $4, $5 a pound or something. It was just ridiculous what people were asking for. So I got bands. It's interesting you said that. I got, what is it called? The Jungle XT or something. It's like the TRX alternative.
Okay.
And I put that up in my garage. And I have to say, this COVID thing was probably the best thing that happened to my personal health, because I reset. I've got a trainer too, and we had to reset my entire workout, and to be from one going into the gym, heavier weights, to one that's bands, resistance, body work. Like, I am in better shape now than I was prior to COVID. And it's really interesting. So I think what you're talking about from a business perspective and what I've experienced from a health perspective, I think for the guys out there listening, it's important to realize that sometimes we need this reset. And sometimes we need to be forced into this reset, because otherwise we would just continue to do the same thing over and over again. And so this COVID, I believe, is a great message for a lot of people, for a lot of guys. I've seen a lot of guys come out of it stronger, like you, John, in terms of your business and having a different aspiration from a health perspective as well. So if you ever feel like you're down and out there, if something has sideswiped you, just think of the positive, as John is talking about. What are the other opportunities? Because there are other opportunities. And if you look back a year from now, like we're going to look back at maybe hopefully within the next 6 months, and look back and say, okay, this COVID thing was actually a good thing for society. It was a good thing for people. Maybe it's a wake-up call. People had different patterns. More people are spending time with their family now rather than continuing to hustle and grind. So now I want to get into the good stuff, man. You're a vegan. Now,
Yeah.
I got so many questions for you. We got myths. I can't even say the word, but we got all of these concepts of, okay, to be a bodybuilder, you have to have X amount of protein, and it has to be animal protein or a certain type of protein. Tell me, you've been vegan for 15 years, man. What is your secret? I'm just gonna straight up say it. What's your secret?
No different than anyone else that gets into a high level in the sport. You have to know what you're putting in your body. So basically, you're going to want to look at the macronutrients of the food that you eat, the proteins, the fats, and the carbs. And just because you're vegan or just because you're not, you should have an idea of what you're taking in. You mentioned before tracking and consistency. If I have a client that says, "Oh, I eat healthy," okay, tell me what you eat. "Oh, well, I think I eat this. I think I eat that." Like, no, like write it down for a week. Send everything to me. Let's go through it. Let's see what you're actually putting into your body. You wouldn't put, like crappy fuel into a Ferrari. So why are you going to put crappy fuel into yourself? You wanna make sure you're getting the best. But beyond that, I mean, to really break it down, protein is protein, whether it comes from an animal, whether it comes from a plant. You might want to vary it a little bit more on a plant-based diet, but it's more or less like, don't just eat beans all day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for protein, and then switch over to like tofu the next 3 days. Like, you can have a balanced diet. So at the end of the day, I mean, to get where I wanted to get, I had to eat a lot. I had to eat to the point where I'd have to stop in the middle of a meal and go walk around the parking lot a little bit to get more food in. I was tracking over 5,400 calories a day.
Holy bro.
Yeah. And I went from about, before I got my coach, I was in like the 220s and we got up to the 250s. So we put in some work in those 5 or 6 months. Yeah. So it can be done. And it can be done healthily. In this sport, in bodybuilding, you really need to look at your blood values. Your blood can get thick. Creatinine levels can get too high. Like if you're really exercising a lot and tearing down your muscle. And what I've noticed through myself, through clients, through doing my own research on, because it's not all out there like scientific research. You got to see what's worked for other people, like kind of like bro science even. And I've noticed that plant-based lifters, their blood work comes back better. They're just things like you hear that oatmeal is good for your heart. It's because of the fiber in oatmeal. It basically takes away, when it goes through your digestive tract, it grabs the cholesterol, the bad cholesterol, and takes it out. So these foods, they're not only fueling you, but they're healing you. So definitely a lot of misconceptions. I had probably 3 people in the last month ask me, "Oh, can you eat tofu? There's estrogens in tofu." And yeah, there's phytoestrogens, but our bodies, especially the male body, is not going to absorb that. I've eaten tofu every day for a year now. That's just been on my diet plan. Yeah, like
That's interesting.
I have blood work to prove that it's not messed up my estrogen or anything along those lines. So
you know what? That's so important. I'm going to ask you to share some tips here in a minute, but there's a lot of misinformation out there, or just lack of information. I think that's why the research is important. My wife is in the medical field, and she's gone on this within the last 2 years, I believe, probably even 3, on this whole, you can say, this diet spree. So we're pretty healthy anyways, but she went in deep to figure out, like, okay, what foods are actually good, the research behind it. And man, I am shocked, because for years I thought certain foods were good, and I thought other foods were bad. And I have a science background, and I've always been into fitness since I was 17, and I thought I knew certain things. And a lot of this stuff has been crushed for me. And I was shocked in terms of when you really get into the stuff, like, for example, soy. Everybody thinks that soy, again, with estrogen, is bad for you. But the research is showing no, it's not. So we've introduced more soy into our diet, for example, and other aspects. For guys out there, so I'm an animal lover myself, but I do eat meat. I eat not a whole lot of meat. I eat more eggs. All my protein is it's actually probably vegan. I think all of it. It's vegetable proteins. Like I have pumpkin seed protein and other vegetable-based proteins. So I try to take all my protein powder through vegetable sources. But guys are out there trying to eat more protein and not, feel bloated all the time, or they're trying to take in calories. What foods would you suggest?
I would suggest continually trying new foods, giving them,
If you're gonna,
breaking in and out. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Try a variety of foods, but like stick to one for a little while and see how it affects you. So I experienced no bloating, no issues off of foods like tofu. That I can get a lot of protein in, no bloating, no issues. There's another one out there I'd recommend called textured vegetable protein. It's basically made from soy, tastes just like, and has a very similar consistency to ground beef. One of my clients, we full-time meal prep for him, and he was a complete typical meat eater before, lifter, and we've switched him over to a completely plant-based diet, and that's one of his favorite meals. We mix it with pasta and pasta sauce. It tastes just like you would put ground beef. You can also make it like season it like tacos, like taco seasoning with rice, however you want it. Those are two great ones to get started with. I also like seitan. It's made from vital wheat gluten. I have some recipes on it. If you go to the Weight Train YouTube channel, I have recipes on how to make all this stuff. So if you guys are interested in trying it, if you have any gluten intolerances, though, I've noticed that my clients don't have an issue with it. For some reason, the vital wheat gluten, like the isolated protein part of the wheat, no issues. So that's another one that people can try. And then I would do what you're doing. Look into some protein powders. I eat 6 meals a day, every day. 3 of them are like kind of like the whole foods based, like tofu, beans, or the TVP or the seitan, like kind of like a regular meal. And then the other 3 meals, one's like a big post-workout shake. So I'll use some plant-based protein from pea protein isolate. And then I'll have 2 like kind of cereal meals or oatmeal meals. So like cream of rice or oatmeal mixed with protein powder. So but that's me. Like I take in a lot of food, so I got to find stuff that digests easily. But yeah, just try those out. I would say the tofu, the TVP, seitan, and some plant-based protein powder. You'll have no issue getting in enough protein as long as you're eating enough calories. Like I've been anywhere from 300 grams of protein to almost 400 grams of protein this past year, each day. So yeah, it can be done. I don't even like push any of my clients towards it, but a lot of them say they want to try some of the stuff I'm doing. I'd say about 50% of my clients so far come to me just regular diet, and they're all plant-based now. So
cool. That's
very,
awesome.
Very interesting. Like, and they see, I don't have that. I can't give that advice based on feeling, because I was vegan for 3 years before I ever touched a weight. So I had no clue. Yeah, I was like 13 when I was vegan, 10 when I became vegetarian. So like I didn't like, how is my performance changing? I can't speak on that because I've always been like this. But a lot of my clients, I see their numbers going up. I see them getting leaner based on what they're doing. Gaining muscle when they're bulking. So it's not any different. And I'm not going to say that like you can't be healthy and still eat meat. And I'm not going to say that it's all or nothing. Even if you switch to a few plant-based meals a day, just to try it, see if you like it, see if your digestion gets better with that meal, see how you feel energy-wise, and see if you're able to perform at the same level or if not better in the gym.
Yeah, I can second that because I eat a lot less meat, and I just feel better. I eat a lot more vegetables, just part of our meal, a lot more. I used to eat. I'm a meat eater, but it's one of those things. In all honesty, because ethically, I'm like, I don't want to be eating this meat because it hurts animals. and just the way they're raised, a lot of the meat is not good anyways. It's not good for our health in terms of the hormones and the conditions, and we're taking on that energy of animals that are just being tortured, right? And I don't want to be a meat act or an anti-meat activist. That's not what I am. I truly believe, like, we evolved to eat meat. I personally used to hate hunting. Like, I never hunted, but people that used to go hunting. But now the more I understand people who actually hunt for the meat, I actually appreciate that, because I think it's more humane. I think if you do it properly, you eat all the meat. I think it's actually better for everybody. But going back to this concept of vegan, I think a lot more people are gonna be going into that path. It's already starting to become a lot bigger now, anyways.
It's blown up. Like you almost can't go to a restaurant, even Burger King. You can't go anywhere and not find a vegan option. Like, the excuses for not doing it are becoming much and much less. It used to be way harder. And one thing I'd like to get into too is there's different reasons you could do it. Like, there's a quote I really like, and it says, "Vegan for the animals." I definitely was vegan for the individual animal, for the cow, whatever you want to say. And I would do it regardless, even if a scientist proved that it was less healthy for me. So I am biased in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
But I say plant-based for the planet. If you look at, humans in general, we're running out of resources, and one really extensive resource that takes a lot of energy is meat production. I've listened to some stuff just to see the science behind, like, the carnivore diets, and I see some of what they're saying, like eating the kidneys, eating the livers, those organs, how they're so nutrient dense, and that's great. But there's no way we can all do that. Probably not even just the United States. There's not enough meat to support it. But how are you going to tell the rest of the world to do that? So I'm looking at something that's not just for me. It's for you, for your kids, for your kids' kids, for our whole world. Like, it's something that you can do, and you can still enjoy it to an extent. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm a better person than you because I don't eat meat. It's not my job to shame anyone. It's my job to bring forward tools. And if you want to use those tools, if you want to learn how to cook a new food, if you want to learn how to do a different diet, I'll have the tools for you. It's up to you what you want to do with it. And I never tell any of my clients, like, I had one person reach out, like, I really want to be plant-based. I want to work with you, but I want to have chicken once a week. Okay, then have chicken once a week.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it takes. Why throw everything away just over one time a week? I'm not going to tell you it's that all or nothing. Be consistent with, back to consistency. If you follow an okay plan 100% of the time, you're going to be way better off than if you follow the best plan in the world 80% of the time.
Yeah, and I had an interesting conversation in the back, and I fall into this category too, where we talked about extremes. So when we think about, okay, it's all or nothing. Okay, I can eat meat or not eat meat at all. No, there's actually an in between, right? There's, you can cut it back, however that looks. Find alternatives. I think that's important. I don't know if you're versed in this area, but I'm hearing a lot more, and I'm still personally waiting for a really good meat alternative.
Okay.
I've had some of them, but I hear there's more and more coming on the market. I also hear that there's, and I haven't personally done the research, but when it comes to real meat grown from cells, for example, are you versed in those areas?
I am versed in those areas. There are a few good brands. I'm not sure what they have in Canada. I'm sure it's similar to the US though. Even like if you go into like a Whole Foods, you can find a lot of stuff. They even have some stuff pre-made for you, like at the bars there. But I really enjoy some of the Gardein products, some of the field roast products. If you're looking for like something that actually tastes like meat, check out the field roast, like sausages. I think they have burgers as well. They're made from that seitan, so they have a very similar texture. A lot of people don't like tofu because the texture is different. Like, tofu is never going to be like a steak. It's not supposed to be. It's different. But these imitation meats like field roast would really surprise a lot of people. I've had, people that are avid meat eaters, like, hey, let me cook this for you and tell me if it's good. Like, should I recommend it to someone else? And I've had a few people just switch. They're like, I like this even more. So there are new things. Yeah, back in the day, like the old, like, tofurkey stuff, no, like it really has a bad reputation now, but if people try some new stuff, they'll see there's some really good things out there. Speaking of the lab grown meats, I think if they can get the cost down, because it's very expensive right now, but if they can get the cost down, that's a viable alternative. I think from a health perspective too, like, you can eat meat, but you really want to wonder what's going into it and where it's coming from, how how was that animal treated by, like, as far as hormones go, as far as what food that animal was eating, because that's all coming to you. If you get straight to the source and eat a healthy plant, you don't really have to worry about much else. But if you get an animal eating like feed, like corn-fed cows, along with all the antibiotics and stuff, you really want to worry about your health. I think with the lab-grown meat, there won't need to be antibiotics. There won't need to be hormones thrown in there. You won't have to worry about like eating inferior corn and other things like that. So I think it's definitely in the next 5 or 10 years something I expect to try and have out there for people.
I'm excited about that. And the reason why I bring this up in terms of, because we're talking about consistency, but we're also talking about vitality for guys, right? Because when you have the energy, when you have the health, everything else in life becomes a lot easier, right? Think about it. When we have like a bad stomach ache for the day, it just throws us off. It throws off our performance. But most guys will go through their life not with a massive stomach ache, but just some feeling of not feeling 100%. Whether they don't have enough energy, or they're lacking sleep, or their diet isn't good, they're just not optimizing their performance. And that's what we're talking about, right? That's part of what the show is about optimizing your performance. So you're operating at a higher level more consistently. And diet is a huge part of that. Exercise is a huge part of that. And I see this, and I spread this because my wife works in oncology. She's dealing with cancer patients all the time. So she's done a lot of research when it comes to diet and cancer, because she's in that field, and because she sees these 20-year-olds that come in with cancer, and 40-year-olds with multiple cancers. And it's like, what the heck? Why are people getting all these cancers? And there is a direct correlation. And I think I have a responsibility to share some of this information between meat consumption, in terms of, especially red meats, and cancer. They've directly linked a lot of sources of beef and pork to cancer. And so I think we have to be cautious and aware that there is a longer term impact when it comes to our diet. And it's important for us to pay attention, because, okay, it's good for us now, right? We're still fairly young, guys. You're young. We can eat. We feel like we're invincible, and we can take on the world, and cancer is not going to happen to us. Well, guess what? Chances are, at least 1 in 3, and it's coming down to 1 in 2, that it could. And that's pretty scary. And we can prevent that by doing little things, by shifting our diet. But I want to get back into the bodybuilding side. I know we only got a few minutes, Sal. You're in the 250s?
I was in the 250s. I've been cutting for 4 to 5 months now. I think closer to 5, and I was 220 this morning, right on the dot. So
220 lean. You're a big dude. Yeah, that's big for people that don't understand. Like, 220 lean is big. Like, that's solid muscle, right? And it takes a lot of maintenance. It takes a lot of work and consistency to get there. What is your driving factor? Like, what drives you? What keeps you consistent? Because it's not easy to eat all the food, exercise, and eat clean as well.
Something I've been saying, I don't remember when I started, but I said, find your why, like WHY. Like, why do you do this? If you can find your why, anything else will be easy, because you'll want to do it. So for me, I love working out. I love making progress. I like to better myself every chance that I get. So I track everything. I track my food. I track my workouts. And I love this lifestyle of, if you work hard, you can see results. So I would say I'm addicted to it, to be honest. I've set up these habits in place. I've set up this lifestyle so that I can keep progressing even at a high level. I found a way to hold myself accountable. Like, for example, I never trained abs. I've worked out for like 12 years, but like, I don't like training abs. I just really didn't want to do it. I hired a coach. First thing I noticed, like on the program, we got abs 3-4 days a week.
Oh, dear.
And now I'm like, you know what? I'm paying this guy for his knowledge, for his advice. I'm not going to skip it anymore. I'm going to follow through. So find a way to hold yourself accountable for the stuff you don't love. I don't love abs. So I found a way to make sure I'm doing that. Everything else, I love it because it gets me to where I want. I don't necessarily enjoy squatting 500 pounds. It really sucks. I get nervous on the way to the gym. I'm even before getting out of the bar, I'm like, I really hope I don't get hurt today. But it gets me to where I want. It's grown my legs. I'm 220. I'm lean. I have veins in my quads right now, like, that you can see. So like, it gets me to that end goal. And I love working. I love pushing myself and just seeing how far I can go. So that's why it is for me. Other people, clients come to me a lot and want to know, like, how can I motivate myself, or John, how can you motivate me? Like, I need you to make me want to do this. And I'll be like, take a step back, really think about, is this what you want? Is this something you want to do? Is working out important to you? Or is it like brushing your teeth? If it's like brushing your teeth, we'll set you up on an easy 30 minutes, 3-4 times a week, just enough to do the basics. But is it something you really want? Is this your passion? Do you want to set a goal? Do you want to lose 10 pounds? Do you want to get healthier? Two of my latest clients, their goal, all they wrote under the goals thing was to become healthy. And so their program is going to be a little bit different, but I want to nourish that goal and get them the tools they need to just be healthy. They don't have to weigh out and track every single piece of food. I gave them a healthy food list. And I said, I want you guys to start eating about 80% off of this list. If you do that, you'll be way healthier than you are now. And let's just get you to the gym a few times a week and start building those habits. I think consistency comes from habits. Mm-hmm. If you can, I think you were saying before, you just would get to the gym. Like you would get out of the house to go to the gym. And like, I think a lot of people, if you just put on your running shoes, by the time they're on, well, they're already on. I guess I should go do something. If you can start doing something, then you can build up to anything.
That is awesome, man. So where can people go? Because I highly encourage you, if you're watching this, and if you're thinking about going vegan, or even if you're not, if you want to get healthier, because you don't have to go vegan. You heard what John said. You don't have to go vegan to train, to get big, to be healthier. It's just his choice in terms of what he's done. And it's an alternative. But where can people go to find you, John, in terms of the work that you do?
Yeah, exactly. I'll work with anybody, even if you don't want to do plant-based at all. Even if that's your thing, we can still make you better than you are now, if that's your goal. So weighttrain.com will have all of our products. There's also a tab on the top where you could go to weighttrain.com/coaching if you're looking at doing coaching with me. We have an Instagram page that you'll be able to find on the website pretty easy. Pretty much if you type in weight train on Google, we're the only W8 train out there. So you'll find us. Feel free to reach out to me through the Instagram. I handle all the social media for us. Same with Facebook, or my personal Instagram is at the bodybuilding vegan. Pretty easy to remember. If you guys got a question, if it's just like, oh, should I do this or this? Like, I'm happy to help you. You don't have to pay for the coaching just to get a question answered. My goal is to bring fitness out there to everyone. I've used bodybuilding as a platform for plant-based, but I'm pretty knowledgeable on even non-plant-based lifters. So really just reach out if you got any questions. I'm here to help. My goal is to help people first and then run a business second.
That is awesome, John. I'll be connecting with you on Instagram for sure. I'll be looking at those tips. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for sharing those tips with us. I know there's going to be guys out there that are going to have some questions and be wanting to know more about how to not only get fit, but to get healthier as well. So thanks. I hope you have an awesome Christmas and get to spend some quality time with your family.
Thank you, Purdeep. This has been awesome. If you get a list of questions for me, I'll either come back on or find a way to answer them. Merry Christmas to you, to your family. Merry Christmas, Elio.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks, man. Take care.
Take care.
There you go, guys. You guys heard from John Thomas. He's an awesome guy. Just a down-to-earth guy. He's got a lot of knowledge in not only health and fitness, but there's something that he talked about towards the end of the show that really struck a chord for me, and it's the concept of progress. Why does he do what he does is because every little thing that he sees in terms of his progress is what drives him. And I think that's important for us to take a look and say, okay, how do we remain consistent? We remain consistent by actually seeing progress, because it's those days where you actually say, oh, okay, I lost an inch off my waist, or hey, I got this much more sales, or whatever that is, whether it's your family progress, whatever that looks like. We're all about progress. If you're not making progress in life, you got to take a look at why you're not making progress, what you need to do, how do you become more consistent and actually get on the right track. I think that's ultimately it. Again, I just want to share, if you guys haven't, I spent the last 3 days recording the audio version of the Complete Book, or Complete Man book, and that's going to be coming out next week, so stay tuned. But in the meantime, you can get your copy of the Complete Man by going to CompleteManBook.com. This is literally 2 decades of my work in coaching guys and working with them. Got the science behind it, the performance, the achievement side, also the fulfillment side, because if you're doing all this performance and you're achieving, but you're not being fulfilled in life, you're not feeling happy, what's it worth? So if you're a high performing guy, or you want to be a high performing guy, and you want to get those tips, it's all practical stuff that I put in this book. Like literally, it's not about mumbo jumbo or motivation. I hate motivational speaking. I hate pumping people up, because I call it the pump and dump, which is basically you get them all hyped up and then you don't give them any strategies to actually get stuff done. I actually include real practical strategies. So go to completemanbook.com to get your copy, and stay tuned for the audio. I want to wish you a very Merry Christmas. I hope you guys have an awesome holiday, and we'll see you next week, Thursday, 8 a.m. Take care and all the best.